Wow. This RoleCatcher report on assayers is full of surprises.
Yeah.
You know, when I hear assayer, I picture like someone in a dimly lit lab hunched over bubbling vials with a tiny scale weighing out gold dust.
Yeah.
Turns out it's way more interesting than that.
You're not far off with the lab part, though the lighting's usually a bit better these days. What's fascinating about assaying is how it takes this, incredibly precise science and connects it directly to the real world, to things that matter.
Okay.
Like figuring out the exact purity and value of precious metals.
Right.
We're talking gold, silver, platinum, the stuff of legends and empires.
Right. RoleCatcher uses phrases like unlocking hidden treasures and even compares it to a CSI episode.
Wow.
So it's not just about testing, it's about uncovering the truth behind these valuable materials. I'm hooked already.
Absolutely. Assayers are like detectives of the material world. They use this whole toolkit of chemical and physical techniques, specialized equipment to analyze and separate these precious metals. And get this, their findings can actually move financial markets, influence commodity trading, even help authenticate historical artifacts. We're talking about real impact here.
Wait, so you're telling me a single test from an assayer could rewrite history?
Potentially, yeah.
That's mind-blowing. I initially thought it was just about figuring out if, say, a necklace was really gold, but now I'm realizing it's about so much more than that.
Oh.
Ensuring fair trade, uncovering historical secrets, talk about high stakes.
You've got it. Think about it. A tiny discrepancy in an assay, like a fraction of a percent,
Yeah.
could mean millions of dollars lost or gained in a gold transaction. And when it comes to those historical artifacts, assaying can tell us so much about the past, the materials used, the techniques employed by ancient artisans. It's like peering back in time.
That's incredible. Okay, so we know the why, but let's unpack the how. What does an assayer actually do all day? What's their typical work environment like?
Well, according to RoleCatcher, assayers do spend a lot of their time in laboratories,
Okay.
equipped with some seriously cool tools. We're talking spectrometers, microscopes, even furnaces. Definitely not your average office job. They're conducting experiments, meticulously analyzing the chemical composition of materials, and then interpreting complex data. It's this fascinating blend of hands-on work and analytical thinking.
So it's a mix of meticulous lab work and then putting those detective skills to the test to make sense of it all.
Mhm.
Sounds like you'd need a very specific set of skills to thrive in this kind of role. What are some of the key skills and knowledge areas RoleCatcher highlights for aspiring assayers?
You're right, it's not just one thing. As you might expect, a strong foundation in chemistry is absolutely crucial. It underpins everything an assayer does. But here's where it gets really interesting. RoleCatcher also emphasizes critical thinking, reading comprehension, and, believe it or not, writing as crucial skills for success in this field.
Writing. You lost me there. Why is that so important in a science-heavy field like assaying?
I have to admit, even I thought it was all test tubes and Bunsen burners.
That's a great question, and it highlights a really important point. Assayers don't work in a vacuum. They need to be able to communicate their findings clearly and concisely to stakeholders who may not be scientists themselves. We could be talking about anyone from a jewelry maker to a museum curator to a financial investor.
Wow, okay.
Clear, accurate reports are essential to making sure everyone understands the significance of the findings. So not only are you dealing with these precious metals and high-tech equipment, but you're also dealing with people and explaining these potentially complex concepts in a way that anyone can understand. That's a pretty unique skill set. I never would have guessed that strong communication skills were so vital to a career in science.
It really is. And it speaks to the interdisciplinary nature of assaying. You need that solid scientific foundation, but also these really strong communication and critical thinking skills to be successful. Now, when we look at the knowledge base, RoleCatcher mentions a deep understanding of precious metal properties and characteristics. And very importantly, staying up to date on industry regulations and safety guidelines.
Right, because dealing with precious metals and potentially hazardous chemicals means safety is paramount. I imagine there's a lot of responsibility that comes with this line of work.
Absolutely. And that responsibility extends beyond just personal safety. It's also about ensuring the integrity of the materials they're working with. One tiny mistake could have huge consequences, so attention to detail and a commitment to accuracy are non-negotiable.
This is fascinating. So we've established that being an assayer is more than meets the eye. It's a career that combines scientific rigor with these real-world applications, impacting industries and economies on a global scale. But once someone decides this detective work is for them, what's their journey like? RoleCatcher seems to have a map for that. Should we take a look?
You're exactly right. RoleCatcher does a great job of laying out a typical career path, and it all starts, as you might imagine, with an entry-level role. What do you think someone starting out in the world of assaying might be doing?
Okay, let me put on my detective hat here and take a stab at it.
Okay.
I'm imagining lots of hands-on work, maybe assisting the more senior assayers with their experiments, performing basic tests, and probably a fair amount of cleaning glassware. Am I close?
You're spot on. It's all about building that strong foundation in those early days. RoleCatcher describes it as an apprenticeship of sorts. Entry-level assayers are learning the ropes, mastering those fundamental testing techniques, getting comfortable with all that amazing equipment, and really internalizing the importance of meticulous record keeping.
Makes sense. After all, we've already talked about how even the smallest error could have big consequences in this line of work.
Right.
Accuracy is key. So once you've mastered the basics, what's the next rung on the career ladder?
Well, once you've honed those essential skills, you might find yourself moving up to a junior assayer position. This is where you start to gain more responsibility and independence. RoleCatcher highlights tasks like conducting more complex analyses, troubleshooting any technical issues that might pop up, and even potentially helping to develop new testing methods.
So it's no longer just about following procedures. It's about thinking critically, applying your knowledge to solve problems, and maybe even contributing to the advancement of the field as a whole. What a fantastic opportunity for someone who's passionate about this kind of work.
Precisely, and that drive to learn and grow seems to be a common thread throughout an assayer's career. RoleCatcher really emphasizes continuous learning as a key part of this job, attending conferences, reading industry publications, even engaging in research projects. It's clear that the learning never really stops in this field.
Which makes sense when you think about it. The world of science is constantly evolving, with new discoveries and technologies emerging all the time. To stay at the top of your game, you need to be a lifelong learner, always curious and ready to expand your knowledge base.
Exactly, you hit the nail on the head. So let's say you've put in the years, honed your skills, and you're ready for that next challenge. What does RoleCatcher say about the peak of the assayer career path? What does it mean to be a senior assayer?
Now that's what I'm really curious about. From what we've seen so far, it seems like a demanding but rewarding career path. What does RoleCatcher highlight as the hallmarks of a senior assayer?
At this level, you're talking about stepping into a role of leadership and real expertise. RoleCatcher describes senior assayers as overseeing a team of other assayers, optimizing lab protocols for maximum accuracy and efficiency, ensuring that everything is compliant with industry standards, and even collaborating on cutting-edge research and development projects.
Wow, so you've gone from meticulously cleaning glassware and learning the ropes to leading a team of your own and shaping the future of assaying. That's quite a journey. What really struck me earlier was that RoleCatcher didn't seem to specify a required education level for assayers. What are your thoughts on that? What does that tell us about this field?
You're right. It's an interesting observation and suggests that while a formal education in chemistry or a related field is undoubtedly valuable, it may not be the only path to becoming an assayer.
So are you saying experience could be just as valuable as a degree in this particular field?
It's possible. RoleCatcher repeatedly emphasizes the importance of gaining hands-on experience, whether that's through internships, entry-level positions, or even volunteering in research labs. It seems like practical skills and a genuine passion for the work can go a long way in the world of assaying.
That's really encouraging. It makes this career path seem much more accessible, potentially opening doors for people from diverse backgrounds and educational journeys.
Absolutely. And that diversity of thought and experience can only benefit a field like assaying, which thrives on a combination of scientific rigor and creative problem solving.
You know, it's funny, when we first started talking about assaying, I was picturing a pretty solitary job, someone alone in a lab surrounded by equipment. But the more we've talked about it, the clearer it's become that this is actually a very people-centric career. You're collaborating with other scientists, communicating complex findings to stakeholders, maybe even leading a team. That's a whole other layer to the job I hadn't even considered.
You're absolutely right, and that's something RoleCatcher does exceptionally well. It doesn't just lay out the technical aspects of the job, it gives you a real sense of the human element involved.
Speaking of RoleCatcher, there was one more thing that caught my eye in their report. That RoleCatcher.capture plugin they mentioned. It seems like a pretty handy tool, especially for someone seriously considering a career shift to become an assayer.
Oh, definitely. It sounds like a game changer for job seekers, particularly in a niche field like this. Imagine being able to browse job boards like LinkedIn or, indeed, see a listing that sparks your interest, and with just a single click, Save it directly to your RoleCatcher account.
Right. No more juggling multiple tabs, bookmarking endless pages, or trying to remember where you saw that perfect opportunity. Instead, you've got all those potential leads organized in one central hub. That's incredibly efficient.
Exactly, and RoleCatcher takes it a step further. They have this feature that actually analyzes those job descriptions and identifies the key skills required for each specific role.
Wow, so it's like having a secret decoder ring for job postings. You can see exactly which skills you need to highlight in your application to make it stand out to potential employers. It's like having a leg up in a competitive job market.
You got it. And remember, those multiple CV versions RoleCatcher mentioned? Their platform actually analyzes your CV against those specific job descriptions and tells you which version is the strongest match for each opportunity. They're really trying to give you every possible advantage.
This RoleCatcher platform sounds incredibly helpful, especially for someone like our listener who's diving deep into the world of assaying and maybe considering a career shift. But even beyond the practical tools, I think the most valuable thing RoleCatcher offers is insight.
Absolutely.
That deeper understanding of what this career really entails, the challenges, the rewards, the skills needed to succeed. That kind of knowledge is invaluable no matter what career path you choose.
Couldn't agree more.
This deep dive has really opened my eyes to the hidden world of assaying. It's far more dynamic and impactful than I ever imagined.
It really is, and it underscores that sometimes the most unexpected career paths hold the most potential.
So if this deep dive has you feeling inspired to explore new possibilities, head over to RoleCatcher and see what treasures you might uncover. You never know what hidden talents are waiting to be discovered.
Until next time, stay curious and keep those career goals ambitious.